Welcome back to Caffeine Confessionals. My name is Allan. We're here today to talk about the Challenge Battle of the Eras, episode 11. I'm joined by my lovely co-host. We have the Southern Luke Muncie.
What's up, guys?
And back with us after missing for 1 week, it's our lovely Vermontian co-host Zoe Trimboli.
Hi, everyone. In a much different location.
Yeah. This is our first ever podcast done where we have someone in Mountain, Central, and Eastern time zone. So all across the coasts. Zoe, you weren't here last week. What will this show do without Ryan Kehoe?
Well, I mean, it's a big loss for Team Zoe right off the bat. I just keep getting hit after hit after hit. But I think it will go on, the show. I think that we will find a way to persevere. And gone but never forgotten. Yeah, that's all I have to say about that. It's probably for the best I wasn't here last week because we all know I'm a bona fide bananas hater. And I don't think all of our listeners are. So I love you anyway, even if you're tasteless. I'm joking. That's how I joke with people I care about. And the only other thing I had about last week that I really I have to say is I need to know, someone needs to ask Rachel if she could actually feel the feminism leaving her body when she was called one of Banana's angels. Because I felt it leave my body a little bit.
Yeah. Strategy, perhaps?
I think she's playing an excellent game, and I think it's brilliant. And I actually commend her because I know she's such a badass woman. So to be lumped in with like these Bananas cronies, I'm sure is like eating at her in some way, but she's just doing it for the good of her game. So like she's a better woman than me.
We talked about it last week. Even Kara said it. Like, I thought this was going to be Bananas versus Rachel this season after a decade of social media spoke, and now she's an angel.
Oh, I love that Cara Maria brought that up last week. And I even was side-eyeing when she went on Banana's podcast because I was like, what? I feel like I'm in the upside down or something. Like something is just not right here. But again, I just think that she's really putting her ego aside, which she is capable of doing, and using him as a benefit to her game. So I'm not going to hate on her, but I am cringing.
Yes, I would agree.
And what did you think about Banana's nomination target speech last week with Olivia, Michelle, and Nia going up?
So, I mean, people gave Cam a lot of shit, right, for that like move that she pulled on Final Reckoning, all like to have this elaborate plan and then to nominate people who are pretty much non-factors. So for him to like make a big show of himself and then nominate the self-named Ladies of Leisure in like and not even take a crack at Cara, like that was weird to me. He's just so tacky to me, and he just hasn't changed. He reminds me of every guy I went to high school with who was just ego was too big for every room. He sucks the oxygen out of every room he's in. And like most people grow up by 40.
But I imagine if you nickname yourself Bananas and have been on reality television for almost 20 years, that would be pretty hard.
Yes, and I will say, like, he gets my blood boiling, and he knows what he's doing because it's a love him or hate him, right? That's what he wants. He wants that kind of engagement, and he definitely has taken advantage of my hate for him because, yeah, it takes all my self-control not to make like snarky comments in his Instagrams and whatever.
I love it. I'm eating it up, and it's just because there's a genuine level of troll that has been missing in his like game for years, where it's like this is coming from a place of passion, where it's like it's been so contrived for such a long time and so rehearsed. He's just bringing back some vintage Banana stuff, though. It's like he went through a phase where he was like, it's like when an artist puts out like bad albums, and then it's like, you know what, I'm just gonna play the hits, and he's playing the hits again, and it's like this is what he's good at. Like these are the ones that work. Because USA Bananas, World Championship Bananas, Ride or Die Bananas, that guy sucked. This guy, he's making some good TV, even if it makes your blood boil. I'm into it.
It's a return to form, but I really wish he just had said, you guys suck. I don't want to run a final with you. Not, you're running this game. You're Devin's puppets. Devin's gone. I don't want to talk about Devin ever again.
Yeah, it goes against like everything that he seems to be about, which is like giving people more screen time and more attention. Like he wants all the attention, but he's like turning it right back to Devin, who's not even there anymore. His temper tantrum about Tori not being an option was also just idiotic, but that's kind of how we start this week anyway.
Yeah, talking about lack of attention. After Banana's whole speech and thing like that, we come back to the house, and the boyfriends of the ladies of leisure come up to Bananas and ask him like why he made such a display, why he made such a vote. Theo and Olivia, such a non-factor this season. Really incredible just to see they're like, and obviously there's still a couple like today, and they're like doing really well. But I do think their showmats kind of be formed as a thing where they wanted TV time, and MTV's just given them none of it.
I mean, they're doing so well in the dailies. So
Oh,
I think they needed another woman there to like have a love triangle to have some entertaining TV because we just don't care.
no, I mean, I'm glad that they stuck up for their ladies, right? Like, kudos to them. I actually think Kyland got under Banana's peel a little bit. And yeah, it's Kyland is the only threat in that whole group. Michelle is in certain aspects, I think, but like Naya's not a threat to win a daily. Olivia's not a threat. Theo's not a threat, and Devin's gone. So
Yeah, I even liked the argument from Michelle and Olivia that none of this would have happened had Bananas not made this a thing. Like we heard the audio of him approaching Michelle and saying, "Look out for Devin," and albeit dramatic, Michelle did say, "You try to protect me, and through this, you've been the person that's harmed me the most. So what's up with that?" Like the montage pictures of them in Miami and on Challenge USA too. Not buying it as much, but like she's got a great point.
it was just a convenient excuse for him to throw away what he never even regarded as an important friendship. Like I've said this before and I will say it again. If you are a woman, Bananas doesn't give a shit about you. Like you are a means to an end. You're not his friend. He is only capable of like very surface level relationships with women at best. There is no respect there, period. He's just and maybe this is going to be too deep and I'm going to piss people off, but like once you see that like certain men really struggle to see the humanity in women, like struggle to see them as actual people, uh you can't unsee it, and for me that's Bananas.
I think even if some people might think that's extreme, I'm not saying I do. We do see that later in the episode too. So I think we'll have a chance to talk about that being showcased, that he is pretty misogynistic. Or maybe I'm wrong.
The action. No, yeah, let's get the wheels rolling. After this, we go to the daily challenge, and I think it's a pretty cool daily challenge. Like, it is a giant obstacle course that starts with a cargo net climb, then some rock climbing, then up a ladder, then you jump from crates, you solve a puzzle, you go up and down a fire pole, you do some climbing up some like steel girders. It's you do a whole bunch of Ninja Warrior type stuff, and it just seems like a fun, good time. My only question mark about this daily challenge at first was like, because you watched Giant Bananas attack this daily challenge first, and he performed well, but it was a really long obstacle course. I was like, man, are we gonna have to like watch each person go for like 5 minutes at a time? Luckily, they fast forward through a lot of people who like did not win the daily challenge, but I thought it was a good daily.
Same. I too had the same fear that we were gonna have to sit through all of that. It was good though.
Yeah, I definitely was like shouting at the TV, give me the montage at one point, but like I fully wanted to participate in this daily challenge.
Whereas I did not. Allan and I were saying before this that we would definitely shit the bed on this.
Yeah, the rock climb, I just know I would not do well in. I don't have the grip strength for it. I just like I'd freak out as a person afraid of heights. Everything else though looked really fun.
Yeah, I definitely would fear I'd embarrass myself because while also being short, having no upper body strength and no grip strength, I would have been right in there with the ladies of leisure probably.
Whew. And Kara.
Yeah, I'm giving Kara a pass on this one. She deserves it.
Let's actually talk about the DQs first, because only 4 people in the whole challenge did not complete it. The ones you mentioned. Let's talk about the ladies of leisure first, because I do think like last week they came in the bottom of the first daily challenge as individuals, all 3 of them, and this week your hope is at least don't come in the bottom so that you can prove to people that you're more than the layup moniker, and they couldn't even do that. I mean, Naya did not even get past probably like the first or second hash mark of the rock wall climb.
And I had the question too. It might have just been editing, but it seems like Kara DQ'd first. I wonder if it was tactical on Naya's end to fall before Kara as to not have to face Kara if she were to be voted in. Like, would she rather go against Michelle or Olivia as opposed to Kara? Is she smart enough to even think that thoroughly?
I mean, we could be corrected, and the interviews that inevitably come out after we record and we get fact checked on all the things we say, she might say something to that effect. I don't think so. I don't think there's a chance in hell that that's what happened. I hear what you're saying, and I think it would have been wise, and it makes sense. But especially like, yeah, it's just bad, real bad.
Plus, I think if Kara was in last place and you're Naya, you're probably still going to be safe even though you have a target on you, because Bananas is more likely to put in Michelle, I think. Kyland is going to save you. Jordan is more likely to put in either of those 2 other ladies. So of like the people you think who would win the daily challenge, like I don't think she would have been the person to go in.
That's true.
Yeah.
She did not get far at all. And Olivia did not do well in this either. Michelle at least got to the second ladder, but then couldn't pull herself up from there.
I need Michelle to just do like a little bit of upper body workouts because she's so tiny. Like if she just developed a little bit of strength, I think she'd be so much more formidable as a competitor, because all she has to do is be able to lift her own body weight up. Like she just has to get to that level of strength.
Yeah. What about Kara though?
I really just think she made a mistake. Like
Okay.
Kara just like made a mental mistake and fell. I think we know she's physically capable of this.
Yeah, I was very shocked.
I don't want to say I was not shocked because of the way they edited it. Because someone is like, oh, Cara Marie's a rock climber, she's gonna kill this. And then I was like, I think she's gonna shit the bed right now. I think she's gonna DQ because they just hyped her up like this. I do also want to say, like, this is to me like, and I hate to say it, this is like when you talk about like who's the GOAT challenge competitor, stuff like this is what hurts Cara because she's never had kind of the problem solving ability in some of these daily challenges where like physically she's so capable, she's so badass, and she's grown so much. But just there's this little stuff like this where she wasn't planning her climb up the rock wall at all. And that's the crucial part of getting up it.
Yeah.
That's where like the horse girl comes out and not like the CrossFit junkie. Like she doesn't have that like athlete mentality sometimes. Whereas like you watch Laurel, Tori, I mean, I don't think Jenny does either, actually, but like just people who, and Rachel, like Laurel, Tori, Rachel have that like athletes mentality when they attack certain challenges. And she's definitely missing that little.
Yeah, I mean, even just some other names like people who aren't on the season, like love or hate her, Camilla was really good at that shit. Sarah Rice, really good at that shit. Evelyn was like the best at that. Like
Casey would have killed this challenge.
Casey would have killed this challenge. Like
Forgot about her.
Good.
Yeah.
It's not that we're like shitting on Cara, but this is like we're talking about like the difference between the greatest player of all time and someone who's like top 5. I think that's the margin of error. So Cara still has room to grow even at this point in her career. She's still amazing at a lot of other things. And you can't really use size as the argument because as we saw, Aviv, of all people, who is, I mean, I've stood next to Aviv multiple times now. She's at best 5 foot tall, and she's super tiny. And that she was climbing up that rock wall. She got through the daily challenge, even got hurt at one point, it seems like, but still pushed through. I've been very impressed by Aviv as a competitor this season. Like, she hasn't done this stuff in 15 years. We did one season. I don't think she's dominating, but she's proven she's definitely not a layup.
No, if people think Aviv is a layup, they're crazy. I think Aviv will have certain struggles because she lacks experience compared to these other people who've done season after season or done a handful of seasons. But like the ability is there, and clearly she's in just as good shape as all the other top females here. It's really like her social connections, I think, that are maybe her biggest downfall. But now she's a whatever, a banana peel, whatever they're calling themselves. I don't know.
Yeah, which I'd never seen them interact before this, more than just like drinking together. But good for her. I feel like she's solidified a good place for now.
What's weird is that like everyone loves her, and like people who did the fresh meat season with her, even though she wasn't on the show for years, have said like, oh yeah, I kept up with her like just via text and stuff like that. So she's got a okay social game. I mean, she's still here, and she doesn't have a big target, so like doing some stuff right. Obviously, she's not wowing me as like an entertaining character, but it's been a decent return.
Which was shocking because the season started and she was getting like 6 confessionals. That might be exaggeration, but several per episode when there were still 40 people, and they fell off drastically.
Yeah, I didn't expect her to come in like making waves, like and having
Yeah.
friction with people. It's one, it's not who she is, but two, it's definitely not who she is like 15 years later as a mom and like a professional human being. Like it's just not what I expected. And you also, I think it's like you need those people, you need the like balance, you need the people who are rational, especially in this house full of crazy people.
Yeah.
Hilariously, she's somehow been a much bigger character than the season she actually won, because she was nothing on that fresh meat season, and then she just destroyed the final. Talking about people who suck, just that's not even a transition. Just like let's just say Theo sucked in this daily challenge as like the big standout. Zoe, just talk.
Well, do you just think it's his height? Like, was his height working against him, or is he just like out of shape? Like, what's going on? I guess we'll find out next week if he's out of shape. But
Yeah. I mean, someone today even said he has the build of Usain Bolt, which he doesn't anymore. He's tall and he was a sprinter, but I don't think he sprinted in a few years. And that doesn't translate to being super athletic. Fast, sure. Has he showcased athleticism? Yes. But like, this was just bad.
I know the part where they were like on when they slid down the pole and then they were on those like beams, ledges that they had to crawl up and get the coins. I know that was relatively tight, especially for someone as tall as him. But I mean, it also could be editing. Like it really at the end with him just like very leisurely like walking and falling into the boxes at the end, like it just looked pathetic.
Well, he's bulked up a ton too. That's the big thing too, where he's like 40, 50 pounds bigger than he was on War of the Worlds 1. Like and whenever I've seen a lot of clips of him just in the background of scenes just eating because he's trying to bulk up, he's trying to get that big figure, but that's not conducive to being a runner or like a long distance runner at least. So I think he's skipping that because he wants to look good for the gram and like be able to lift more, but I don't think he's like his goal right now is to run a final.
Yeah, he almost won World of Worlds 2 in this, or World of Worlds 1, excuse me, in the shape that he was in. So why switch that up? And Zoe, for the editing, they did. They sped up everybody falling into the boxes, and for his, they kept it normal speed. It just looked goofy.
Yeah.
It's a bad showing though, and you know he did actually like he killed that cargo daily challenge on World of the Worlds 1, the one where Paulie died before the final. Like he crushed that. So this was like it's a different challenge, but it's kind of similar. Those extra pounds maybe like weighing him down, and he didn't do well last week in that little mini final challenge either.
No. I'm struggling with my new equipment. Bear with me, guys.
Can we talk about the standout guys?
Yeah, there's two of them, right? Because everyone else basically got put in the speed edit. Giant Bananas went first, and I think that did put him at a pretty decent disadvantage of like everyone got to see him go and learn from him, but he did very well.
Yeah, he did forget one of the coins at the beginning, which rookie mistake, especially from him. And I'm curious what the time was between the two of them, him and the person who ended up winning. But yeah, I mean, he definitely, you know, he doesn't lack the experience at all. He's never gonna shit the bed on something like this.
Well, and this challenge specifically, I remember when I saw what it was, I was like, Johnny's gonna be really good at this shit. Like,
Yeah.
it's just like when I don't know if I can even properly articulate it, but when I see challenges like this, I'm like, Johnny's good at these. Like, he just knows what to do.
This is also where going first hurts too, where it's like he forgot the coin, but I do think that's something that no one else forgot from there because they all yelled at Johnny and they knew like, oh, I can't forget it like he did.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Kylan goes in and just absolutely crushes it after he came in second last week in the daily challenge, first place here for the men. Big win for Kylan, and he's really establishing himself as like a top contender.
I actually was so excited for a couple of reasons. One, because he's on my team. But two, Devin was in an interview this week calling him overrated. I saw somewhere on TikTok, like we all see things, was just saying that he's just like doesn't have the X factor, what it takes to win. So for him to win this daily with this field of men, I thought it was really impressive. I think he's also kind of moving forward going to be in somewhat of like a must-win scenario, unfortunately. But I was just really stoked.
I think he's got it. I could see him winning. I could see him winning this season even.
Me too.
Even with it being stacked, like he is showing how kind of incredible he is.
Derek Travis says it every week. That's Derek Travis's existence on the show is to cut a confessional whenever Kylan is competing and being like, oh my God, this guy is so good.
Derek is a waste of space. Really, what has he done?
Talk about Kylan.
He's great for All-Stars.
For sure.
Keep him on All-Stars.
He's playing a great game for himself. I will give him that. But in terms of us watching it,
yeah, I say that I really like Derek. He's probably one of my favorite guys that's still there, like just from a likability standpoint. But it's like we know he's not winning. Spoiler free. We know he's not winning. And I'm over that.
Because of how poorly Theo did, we had honestly no clue how the men even ranked 3rd to 7th. It's just like all we know is they all did better than Theo because Theo did so poorly.
Mm-hmm.
On the women's side, though, 2 standout performers were Jenny and Tori. Big performance by Tori, especially after last week where she came in first place in dominant fashion. This week comes in second place. And Cara Maria, last week when she won the daily challenge, Cara was like, damn, Tori. And then during this week, she's like, this is not the same Tori I competed against. She's so much better, and she's so good now.
But I would argue she was good then. Because
I agree.
She said that, and it kind of pissed me off. Because the only season that she did with Cara before that she wasn't good on was Final Reckoning, and that wasn't even her. That was her partner. Tori had a great rookie season on a monumental season. Like was brought back as a mercenary. World of Wars 2 still might be one of Tori's best seasons just in terms of physicality and the moves she made, and she was really robbed at the end. And that was Cara's last season. So
Luke, I was also perplexed by that because Cara, I remember after Dirty 30 aired, she was like, I thought Tori beat me. She said that in that final. Like, I thought Tori beat me in the Dirty 30 final. Like they went bar for bar, and that was Cara as like a 10-time vet, and Tori was a rookie. That's actually one of my smallest challenge conspiracies ever, is that Tori actually came in second place. But because people want to believe Tori would have beat Camilla in that final, because remember they did the whole reveal at the end, like is it Cara or Camilla who won? I've always thought like there's a chance that like Maybe Tori came in second, but they just switched it up to make it a better outcome. That's just a little thing I've always thought. This is a small conspiracy.
Tangent, I'm good at them, but that still pisses me off that they allow those episodes to be aired and then film the reunion and still let Camilla win. They could have totally edited it in their favor and said that she did horribly and shaken things up, and Tori could have won or Cara could have won, because they can edit and manipulate these things.
They were editing that final so weirdly, because I remember I was doing my recaps at the time and they were trying to misguide people, because I remember like I was doing like, because they had all these time penalties and stuff like that, and I was trying to track it all down based on the editing. And based on the editing, I thought Tori had won and Cara come in second and Camilla come in third, but that's because they also just didn't give Camilla any confessionals the entire final either.
And if we'd seen that, we would have believed it and gone about our days. So I don't know. I think it was a nice compliment from Cara, and she felt like she had to because she filmed it afterwards, where she did horribly and Tori won. But it's like, she has been good. And listen, I don't like her. She's been good her entire tenure on the show, aside from that season and Total Madness.
The loss to Anissa, that one.
Yeah, and that's just because she was cocky, and she acknowledged that in the moment. So I don't know. It was an interesting confessional.
Cara's not wrong though either though, because this season Tori is stepping it up. Like, because like you just watch her in every daily challenge, like her cardio, her puzzle skills seem pretty decently improved as well.
We said it 2 weeks ago. She said, I want to be on that Mount Rushmore one day. 10 years from now, we'll look back and she will be. Like, I see Veronica, Evelyn, Laurel, Cara, Tori. I know there's only 4 on there, but like, this is going on 40 seasons now, plus 10 spinoffs. She's pretty good, if not the best woman there.
She's such a complete competitor, right? Like, we talk about this a lot with people having stuff that's like glaringly bad at their game, but she doesn't have anything glaringly bad. I think you could say the biggest mistake that she made this season was making an adversary of Bananas, honestly, just because it's going to make her path harder. But as a character on TV, and it makes her so much more interesting. So I think she's in great shape for the foreseeable future.
For sure. All this to say, Jenny won the daily challenge.
Yeah.
Which, hey, Jenny's just so angry at the world in this game. Like, it just, and I don't even know where it's coming from at this point, where she's like, oh, y'all made me like the scapegoat on my team type stuff. And she's just so angry of stuff that's already happened. It's like, Jenny, just make social connections with people now. Just, you're a good player. Other people were like Tori and Rachel, and everyone is cutting deals and stuff like that, and you're just still angry about the past, it feels like.
I guess we should say thank you for not being wallpaper.
Yeah.
Right? Like, because I had that reaction too. I'm like, just give me a break. Like, get over it. Be quiet. But my biggest complaint about Jenny is that I think she's boring and like lackluster. So her being fed up and being annoyed, and like, I wouldn't say she's like causing a scene, but like it just having an opinion and like standing up for herself in a way.
Well, and I had to consider too, am I just irritated because she's going against people who I like? And the answer is probably yes.
Yeah, that's also 100% fair. Like, there's, other than at this point Laurel, I think all the other women more, and maybe Naya. But like,
Yeah.
Well, I just think it's like, it's smarter for her game to go after some bigger targets in theory instead of aligning with certain people.
Yeah. I just want to acknowledge that like I am being a hater, right? Like, people, I know that people get frustrated when we're like hypocritical, and I just want to at least acknowledge when I am. I know it.
Since you started this, Zoe, you have said I'm a fickle person, and that's not a bad thing. She can change her mind, and I appreciate that, because I am too.
Instantly.
I go back on what I say within the same podcast. So yeah, I have no shame.
No, I can be convinced I'm wrong of anything, honestly.
Well, Jenny wins. Good for her. I mean, she finished top 3 last week. Another good performance by her. She has power, but not really, because as we know, the opposite gender gets the tiebreaker, so Kylan will have power. The bad part for Kylan is that Nia came in last place. He was trying to save her. She's going directly in. So his top 2 allies, Michelle and Olivia, are going to be the ones he has to vote in. And based on everything we've seen, I think it's clear that Nia has a much closer bond with Olivia than she does Michelle. So even though they're all the ladies of leisure, in this scenario, Nia and Olivia, I don't even want to compare them. I was gonna say that like Nia and Olivia are like the Amanda Ashley of the situation, and Michelle's the Sylvia. But I don't even want to make. But
that's
yeah,
fair.
Yeah.
In the context of this, absolutely.
And so Kylan is gonna abide by what Nia wants.
I did like this is probably dumb game wise, but I think Michelle knew what was going to happen. So I think it was very smart for her to go to Kylan because that helps solidify her as a number of his if she survives. Not that she wasn't already, but if Nia goes, that might make her his number 1.
Yeah. And I think Kylan even said something to that effect, like her saying that made him want to keep her more. So I think that's exactly what would happen, Luke. I think that's a great point.
It makes really the deliberation part of this all like we know what's going to happen here. I mean, Kylan even said after deliberation, like, Michelle, you're going in type stuff.
Yeah.
Giant Bananas, because he's not won the daily challenge, he knows that all because 2 of the ladies leisure are going into elimination regardless. After his speech, he's going to be the target regardless next week. So he goes to the bar that night and.
Let's pause just really quick. I do want to talk about Jenny's comment before we get into the bar, because the bar is a whole thing.
Oh, yeah.
Jenny, I know we kind of touched on it, but like, why was she trying to play victim when she was in a power position and speaking to people who are actually victims of the situation? It did not make sense to me.
She just took all her frustration from the team portion of the game out on Michelle and Olivia in this moment, and it was stupid. It wasn't a good game move. There was no purpose to her bringing it up, and I was really proud of Michelle for basically just saying, like, shut up, like, this isn't even relevant.
You're not gonna have your moment through this.
Yeah.
They weren't the people who nominated you. The men were the ones who nominated you. So if you're gonna be mad at someone, be mad at the men in this game.
She's just jealous.
I think she feels too protected because she's with Johnny, which does then transition us to the bar where Johnny was Johnny.
Ew.
I mean, he put on a bananas vintage bananas scenario where he knew he's gonna be the target, and so he go for it, Luke.
I already know that people are gonna say that Olivia started this, and in some respects she did. However, I have no problem with her saying, why did you say this just 2 days previous? Because please keep in mind, this is filmed on like 2 or 3 day rotations. She's not been Devin Snake. And she had a great point too. After the backlash with her from last season, that's a pretty hefty word to throw at her. He knew what he was doing. For him to then think that she's trying to like get camera time or cause a situation, I'm like, whoa, you are bolstering this. Go ahead, Zoe.
Well, no, that's the thing. She was talking to him. He was talking to the cameras. Like, she actually just wanted to have a genuine conversation. Her mistake was thinking he's capable of having one, because I think that outside of the show, Bananas is probably like a pretty easy guy to get along with. He's kind of a social butterfly, right? He is charismatic. Like, he's probably fun to like party with. Like, I can recognize that might be true. So I think for especially some of these younger women who have spent time with him outside of the show, who think that they have this like relative bond, like friendship, even if it's just like a social friendship, that was hurtful. Like, she was hurt by it because she hasn't been around Johnny Bananas long enough to realize what a snake he is. He's the snake.
Right.
Like, him grinning at the cameras during all of this, like, I knew what he was doing and it was still bothering me. Like, so, like, mission accomplished.
Well, And even him like turning his back to Olivia and like putting his arm around Theo, her boyfriend, as if like her opinion didn't matter, and if this is okay with Theo, then you should just be quiet. It's like, what? How do you get off on this?
Because he's a 16-year-old boy. Like, honestly, teenage boys are my least favorite species on planet Earth. Like, and that is, I think, why he bothers me so much, because he's still just a teenage boy.
I thought it was great. I'm sorry. Because all he wanted was attention, and they kept feeding it to him. He got Olivia, he got Michelle, he got Naya. And in the whole process of the Naya stuff, he kind of wrapped Jordan in. Because he's like, here's the thing. When you're like that loud and vocal, like he already had a target on him. So he's like, why not just make it bigger? But let's also like do this loud display. All my allies can see who my enemies are. And when you draw those like lines, they know Bananas is like, okay, Bananas is against them. He's not going to cross me, so I can be more loyal to him. So even though he's making an ass of himself, it's the people who are his minions are just more vindicated by his behavior. It's like it's like a politician who just like he feeds his like little cult of like the 45%. Like I have this 45% no matter what, and the more I amp up this personality, they're going to stay loyal to me.
Great time to be Kara and Corey.
Well, it's like infuriating, right? Because Allan, I agree with you in some capacity, right? They took the bait. That's on them. They didn't have to take the bait. We all saw what he was doing. That's why Jordan didn't take the bait. Because he has been around Bananas long enough. That's actually the other thing from last week when Jordan let him peacock in front of him and actually labeled it that. I was like, see, that's a man that actually has done some growing, because 10 years ago, Jordan would have been getting into some sort of confrontation with him. But I am disappointed in them for taking the bait, but also this is a TV show. So like on the other hand, I'm grateful that they decided to engage with him. But I have so many conflicted feelings about it, because I was putting myself in the women's shoes, and I was like, if I was there, I would have had a hard time biting my tongue too. Like I would have been pissed.
Well, and yes, and I think when Jordan didn't take the bait, which smart, he was like, "Oh, Tori, that makes sense." And Tori took the bait. And I'm conflicted on whether or not A, she wants Camera Tom, she knows what to do, or B, she feels like this season, oh, my facade of being this really nice positivity, crystal, sage, girly, like that's out the window because I did this last week. I'm not being called out now. I don't know what it is with her. I'm glad she reacted, and I think she should have.
I think that was the real Tori. She was pissed.
I think when we saw her and Josh get in their argument earlier this season, that was the real her.
Yeah. And I don't think that people exist in like these very singular views, right? Like I think she can be, it's a both and I think she's trying to grow as a person, but like she's the Tori that got casted on reality TV in the first place.
Yeah.
Tori said the line at one point though that like Tori said the line at one point like you're not my friend anymore because of the way you treat my friends. And the way she delivered that, I don't know why. It just didn't sound like the most natural thing ever, but
it was just a little cringy.
It was cringy, but it made sense in the Tory speak of like, oh, that is the real Tory.
Yeah. It's also not lost to me that her and Devin used to hate each other. Like bad.
Rivals turn ride or dies.
Yeah.
Good on Jordan for not biting on the bait for the whole, Bananas kind of exposing his listing. But Jordan was a little bit like mad in his confessional silently, where he's just like, "Hey, don't expose my game because the whole time you're doing this Bananas Angels thing, I'm basically allied with the same women quietly."
Yep.
And that's what good for Bananas also, because he's like, hey, he's trying to play in my shadow but doing the same thing. You can't take my angels. And so we're kind of seeing a little bit of a Bananas, Jordan taking shots at each other, but they can't take shots at each other in the traditional way because we know the women make the nominations. So he's just hoping that Jordan will expose himself at some point. That's really all he's hoping for. Unfortunately for him, Jordan didn't take the bait.
Yeah.
Jordan's just like knowing that he needs to just get to the final, right? If Jordan gets to that final, he can beat Bananas. He knows it. And I know it too.
Bananas knows it too, so that's why Bananas is trying to do whatever it takes to like get Jordan to take the bait, and that's why like the scene with Nia was so crucial.
Well, because he also knows too, if the girls had to decide, Johnny, Jordan, who do you want to run with? It's kind of a no-brainer.
Oof.
I like it when these two are at each other though, because they really are. I mean, I think they're the two biggest contenders. Obviously, you got Kylan there too, but they're the favorites to win on the season, and if one can get the better of the other, it puts a lot into the GO conversation and argument.
Still Team Corey, but yeah.
I was just thinking about how little I think Jordan cares about that label, which makes me want him to win so much more. Like if one of those two guys cares about being the quote unquote GOAT of the challenge, who cares about it? We know we know.
Yeah,
it's all he has.
That's undoubted.
He's
He
got
also
his
had that
guitar.
show on CBS for 2 seasons.
Yeah, and his guitar and his boxing.
Giant Bananas has a boxing gym now, apparently. Like he said that in the episode, and I don't know how he got the capital to create a boxing gym. I feel like that costs a decent amount of money. I mean, I'm not saying that he doesn't have a lot of money, but I was surprised by that.
Yeah, I think he has a partner, and I think he also does have a lot of money, genuinely.
Yeah, I mean, I won't be surprised if he has millions of dollars. I just feel like a boxing gym would be pretty pricey.
Yeah, he's probably in debt for it, but making his way out because that's a good investment.
Yeah.
At least in Boca Raton, Florida. Anyways, you know who did take the bait? Nia. Okay, she didn't take it at the bar, but they get back and she does take Bananas into a room, which is a dangerous place, and says, "Do you really think that this is true?" Without realizing that you might be Jordan's fourth, but you are probably Bananas' sixth. Like,
Well, that's exactly it, Luke. Like, it doesn't even matter. It was a personal thing for her. Like, her feelings were hurt, thinking that Jordan would want to run a final with people who actually can run. God forbid. But it was just her being in her feelings. But that's where Nia loses me even more. Like, to not understand that while that might be true about Jordan, he's still gonna pick you over Olivia and Michelle at least. Whereas you are the last person on Johnny Bananas totem pole. The only reason he would keep Nia around a little longer is because she's less of an adversary to him.
yeah. Even so, he'd keep Michelle above her. I think if he's thinking about the final, he'd rather have Michelle.
And Olivia.
I think I'd rather have every female competitor on this season besides Anissa in the final over Nia.
God, I hate to say I hate somebody, but I hate her. So we do get more game talk, I guess, okay, Rachel is doing things really wisely.
Oh, brilliant. She's really playing a completely brilliant game.
It's a Survivor winner's edit where she took this idea of being on a team of one and has just used it to her strength completely because she wins that daily challenge, takes a shot at the Vacation Alliance, has Bananas in her pocket, has those little angels just in case you need them. But importantly, it's in last week, cuts a deal with Jordan. This week cuts a deal with Corey, and then vis-a-vis Corey, a deal with Nehemiah. So and she has these 4 power players who have all gone to finals, like many times, as allies, and it's all easy to trust her because they all believe in the idea. Well, she's the only person left from her era. She has no one, so I'll be high on her totem pole, and she's a strong player. Meanwhile, she's now protected by more than half the house because she also has Derek. She also has Josh.
Yep, and the only person she has to be loud about is Bananas because he's the only one that needs that. And if the guys are like, ooh, these people are closely aligned with Bananas, they're going to take shots at Laurel, Aviv, and Jenny first.
Yeah, absolutely.
At this point, she only has to worry if Kylan wins an elimination, I believe. Who else is there? There's one other guy there.
Io?
Theo.
Which
Oh.
after this last daily seems unlikely. I'm hoping this was a fluke for his sake, because I think I said something about him feeling like a real contender to win in the last episode, and I'm regretting it. I actually, on a sidebar, I am disappointed, and maybe it's editing, but I'm disappointed that Kylan did not leverage this win more like Rachel did with hers, by gaining some more favor with some of the women. I know that he's so outspoken about who his female allies are, but it doesn't mean that he couldn't have at least gained a couple in this episode.
I think, it's also their factor of, I wish Michelle and Naya were actively talking to more men in the house of like, hey, what should I do if I win the elimination? Because you're the one who's going to be targeting people. Because that's the scenario we'd see. Because that's the only reason I think with the Kylan stuff where he's not able to really leverage deals, because he's just picking between the two who goes into elimination, not who's going to be the targets next week.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I still hate the setup of this because we'll see it differently at the end, but it does incentivize keeping the strong players, which it makes sense. But if it were guys nominating guys, we would see the strong players all go into elimination often, same with the women, and it wouldn't just be a foregone conclusion every single week. Okay, who's just going on? Which I'm going to be a hypocrite because we see the end. We'll talk about it later. But
well, I think on the other hand too, then we would be complaining about the layups coasting to the end.
I love that.
We did not love it last season. We did not love it.
Okay, well, the layups were Berna and Corey Lay. Corey Lay.
Okay, so it's Derek. In this world, it's Ryan.
Well, okay, if I'm thinking about who's here, who's the lowest, I would say Derek, Michelle, Naya, Olivia. Who's the two lowest guys you think? Josh and one other person? I would like that final. Maybe not for 40.
I think you're full of shit.
I just don't want to see like a multi-time champ win again. Unless it's Ashley.
We're all hypocrites here. We're just all hypocrites here.
Pickle.
No, I get it. I really just don't want to see Bananas win. So that's all.
Big fan of Bananas this season out of nowhere. I mean, as a longtime hater, I also don't want to see him win. I want him to come in second. That's all. Or third or fourth. I want to see him like stir the pot and be entertaining, but I will be cheering against him to win in the final. Like anyone but him.
I want Kylan or Corey.
Yeah.
Whew. Let's go to the elimination. I fucking hated it. I told you guys before the podcast, I hated it, and here's why I hated it. I'm so tired of watching people do math on this show. I'm over it. I like math, but we've had 2 math daily challenges, second math elimination. This is the second math elimination. Michelle's competed in this season. I just do something else.
I'm with you there. I don't think it needed math. At least they gave him chalk, I guess. There was 5 math equations that they had to solve roughly, and they had to solve these equations to open a lock to take chains out of 40 large heavy boxes that they then had to move and stack on the other side of the arena.
I liked it. I agree about the math part. If it had been like small puzzles or even riddles, something other than just watching them do math. But I did like the physical aspect of it.
Mm-hmm. I did too. I thought I agree with everything you guys said. If it was something else instead of math, I think it's a good elimination. I think it's relatively equal, because while Michelle is not as strong, I think she's more fit than Naya. But it didn't matter.
You're going to jump me when I don't know the name of this, but have they done the elimination this season where they're tied to the string and weave themselves through? Have they done that? What is that called? Or like they have hooked to them the rope and they climb up.
Not so fast.
Yeah, not so fast.
Not so fast.
Have they done that?
They haven't done it because I think they did the door version of it in the whatever
With-
it's called.
with Ryan, Cara, and yeah.
I thought you were talking about the one that like Wes competed on the ruins, like Kahada beat him in. The one where you like the spool rope where you go
Oh,
up
yeah.
and down. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's not a bad one either, actually. That's a decent
I want to
elimination.
see the one that Dee and Maddie did on, was it Total Madness?
Yeah, the one where they dig through the sand and the little like basically like coffin thing and you got to get out. Like
Mm-hmm.
you got a hamster crawl basically. That was a good elimination and D kicked fucking Maddie's ass, but they completely edited her out. So it was just really weird to watch.
Yeah, but it was a good elimination. Bring that back.
Bring that back. This is where like watching the show is tough because we know from Michelle's previous math elimination, she's not good at math.
Right. She even grimaced or winced, I guess, whenever they said math.
So in this elimination, like Bananas is obviously a hater, but he's like, Michelle's not working that fast, but Naya's just not getting anything. So when it comes to the math, all I know is that Naya is worse at math than someone who I already know is bad at math. So I can't really walk away from this super impressed by anyone. I mean, I'm going to give credit to Michelle for showing a lot of heart when it came to carrying the boxes, but I just like, I don't walk away from this elimination being like super impressed.
Well, I had to question what would my thoughts been had she gone against X, substitute any other person in there, but I don't guess that necessarily matters because she went against Naya, and a win is a win is a win. Win shell.
That's my girl.
I like Michelle. I mean, I want her to win this elimination. I was cheering for her because she's got much more juice this season than Naya.
And I'm sorry, watching this episode, I really like seeing Michelle. She just felt like she's it. She is a staple at this point. She has to be. I don't see.
She had the dirt all over her face. Like, she was just so locked in. And while she's terrible at math, taking a lot of time to do these math equations that most people could probably do in their head. Not most. That's not fair, actually. Not most. We live in America. That public education's not great. I say as I work in it.
Same.
But all that matters is Michelle won.
Yeah.
And it matters that Naya lost because I don't want to. I'm saying this. I don't want to see her on the show ever again. That's like my hardline stance of like, as a competitor, I mean, like she's a 6 foot former collegiate athlete. In theory, she should be good at this, but in every daily challenge, she just shows no real problem solving ability at all. She's afraid of so many things. Yes, she had a showmance this season. Yes, she showed some like political instincts at the beginning of the game, but even then, it just nothing about Naya wows me. And we've given her so many shots, like from All Stars to World Championships to this now. And I'm proud of who she's become. Of like, she's no longer Hurricane Naya. I don't ever want her to go back to that. But if she's going to be this competitor and this character, she's not going to win. She's not going to do anything of note. I don't need her on the show anymore.
Right.
I agree mostly, but I am happy there's someone on the show that's willing to hook up.
Yeah. With multiple people.
Yeah. But even then, I thought we'd get like a fun, up and down triangle throughout the season. No, that storyline existed for 2 episodes and then it's been gone.
That's true.
But it could come back on the next this season.
Yeah, and which I wouldn't hate. Also, maybe let's stop casting so many married people. I get this season's anomaly for sure, but we know that Naya is feral based on her tweets when the season started. So I'm willing to give her another shot.
I do not want to see her on an Exodus season with Kylan. I want to see Kylan win the show. That's not happening with Naya.
Yeah, no, I don't want him with Naya either, for all the same reasons. Melissa.
I kind of hate her, but yeah.
Better chance at winning.
True.
Taylor Hale.
Ooh, she'll never do it, especially with her new job, but would love that. But they'd have to be exes first, not people who date and then give each other green cards or passes, whatever.
If Mariah can be Fessy's ex, they can be exes.
She's ride or die. They're best
sorry.
friends.
Yeah,
They're
whatever
best
it is.
friends after having went to dinner one time.
I think that's actually more of a leap than X's.
Right.
I do like that Naya's like involved in the challenge community, like with like doing recaps on Twitter and stuff like that. Like I do appreciate it, but it's just on the show. Here's the thing, she's not leaving either too, because this is another. She's a better Casey Clark. She's like a much improved Casey Clark because she was an alternate for USA 2. She was supposed to be on Ride or Dies. Like MTV production, they love her at this point. She like they're gonna put her on every season. I just don't really think like I'm just checked out on Naya.
Yeah. Well, good thing she's gone.
Bye.
So Michelle wins her second elimination win of the season.
Yeah.
Which is pretty good for her. I'm telling you, if there's ever an edit, it might seem like Rachel, it might seem like Tori, it might seem like XYZ. I think Michelle's got a strong case that she could be the winner, which I think would just be really cool for a season 40 to have somebody from the new era. She picks her targets, and I can't tell if they're stupid or if they're really smart.
I think they're brilliant.
Okay.
I think that she is not in a power position. And so she has to, if she wants to get Johnny Bananas out of this game, she has to put him against people who can actually eliminate him.
True.
So she nominates Johnny while he's hiding behind everyone because 12 years old. And then she nominates Jordan, who she knows is never going to have her back, and she's absolutely right about that. Jordan, even no matter what she does in this scenario, Jordan was going to nominate her if he ever had to. And she nominates Nehemiah, again, another strong competitor who has the capabilities to beat Bananas in elimination. I love it.
Well, and I guess the way that Jordan has to make the final, she does too. So even if it's with the Theos, the Dereks, the Joshes, Theo based on this performance, you'd rather get there than not, even if you're running with some shitty people.
I thought it was the best move she could make in her position.
It was the biggest complaint we had with the Tory nominees.
Right.
When she did the whole Ryan and Derek thing where it's like, okay, you're giving us two people that Bananas can beat, and Bananas even like made funny of the deliberation, like, I'm beating Ryan. What do you think you're gonna do here?
The only thing I would have maybe switched is nominating Theo in place of Nehemiah, just because in the chance that you get some sort of physical elimination, again, he's a much better option to beat Johnny. But she's not going to do that because Olivia's her number one ally.
Right.
There's also like a decent likelihood that Bananas might be facing Theo next week anyway, because Theo has a penalty from the next daily challenge after coming in last place. So there's a decent likelihood that he could be the automatic person who goes into elimination. Then it'll obviously come down a bit to who wins the daily challenge on the women's side, which does protect Bananas a decent amount because he does have 4 very strong ladies who will protect him. And then we got maybe Jordan or Nehemiah against a strong player in elimination, like theoretically. I mean, if Derek comes in last, then it'll be less fun. But if Corey came in last or Theo came in last.
But there's one wrinkle in which could throw all of this hypothesizing out the window, is that there's a purge next week.
Not just a purge. We got the mini final and a purge, and it seems they're running through the desert, and looks like it's going to kick their asses.
I can't wait. And I do think that we are still getting an elimination pseudo spoiler. So like possibly 3 people go home next week, or we get a cliffhanger, which sucks. But
I hope if we do get an elimination that's based on Michelle's targets, though, because I don't want to see her power get stripped away by a purge. That would really piss me off.
Yeah. Who do you want to see purged? Who do you want to see, and who do you think?
I think Derek will get purged. I would like to see, I mean, selfishly, not in the best interest of the show, I'd love to see Johnny Bananas get purged just because I think his ego would shrink. Other than that, honestly, I'm so indifferent about the men.
Yeah.
I think I'd like to see Theo purged because he's just not doing anything.
I I think Theo and Olivia are the two most likely to get purged because, I mean, based on Theo's performances, like he really has not been shining. And if he gets a penalty too, so that'll put him in a likely spot to be purged. Olivia did not do well at all cardio wise in that last one. If it comes down to a puzzle, I could see Josh getting purged as well because he doesn't really got a lot going on up there.
I'd love to see the banana peels take a hit in a purge. I know they're all very strong, but like you said, with puzzles, things can happen.
Based on the trailer too, it seems like Aviv has a pretty serious injury too, so
Yes.
she could very easily go out here. She is good at puzzles though. I mean, because I think a puzzle will be a big part of this because it is the mini final. And that is the factor I like the most because if you're gonna do a purge, make sure it's an intense daily challenge where like if you lose, you come in last, then like
you deserve to go home.
Yeah. Not a walk across a beam, push a button, you're purged out of the game now.
Or a log roll challenge, perhaps.
I'm excited though. I didn't think this was the strongest episode, but I do think next week is going to be really damn good because we got that purge. We got some big targets. I'm excited.
Me too.
I'm here for it.
Anything else we got to talk about before we leave?
Not for me.
No, I think I'm all talked out.
All right. We'll be back for episode 12 next week. Make sure to follow us on Spotify, YouTube, Twitter, wherever you get this podcast. Have a great weekend, everyone.